Hello everyone. Most of us are terrified of death. We avoid thinking about it, talking about it, and some of us can't even attend funerals without having panic attacks. But what if I told you that one of history's greatest philosophers proved that fearing death is completely irrational? Meet Epicurus, the ancient Greek philosopher who developed what might be the most powerful argument against the fear of death ever conceived. And no, it's not about believing in an afterlife. It's much more interesting than that. Epicurus starts with a simple but devastating observation. Death cannot be bad for the person who dies. Why? Because when death is present, we are not, and when we are present, death is not. There's never a moment when both you and death exist together. Therefore, there's never a moment when death can actually harm you. Think about it this way. Were you suffering in the year 1723? Of course not. You didn't exist then. So, why would you suffer in the year 2323? You won't exist then either. Death is simply non-existence, and non-existence cannot be experienced. But you might say, I'm not afraid of being dead, I'm afraid of dying. Epicurus had an answer for this too. Any pain or discomfort associated with dying is part of life, not death. Once death arrives, all sensation ends. Death itself cannot be painful because there's no one there to feel the pain. Here's where it gets really interesting. Epicurus argues that most of our fear of death comes from imagining ourselves being dead. We picture ourselves lying in a coffin, or floating in an endless void, or missing out on life's pleasures. But this is nonsensical. It's like imagining what it feels like to be asleep. You can't experience non-existence. Consider this. Do you feel bad about all the centuries you missed before you were born? Probably not. So why feel bad about the centuries you'll miss after you die? Both are periods of non-existence, and neither can affect you. But Epicurus goes even further. He suggests that the fear of death actually ruins life. We waste our limited time worrying about something that can never harm us. We pursue immortality through fame, wealth, or legacy, all futile attempts to deny our mortality. Instead of enjoying the present moment, we're paralyzed by a fear that makes no logical sense. This doesn't mean we should seek death or be reckless with our lives. Epicurus believed life was good and worth preserving, but he insisted that fearing death was irrational and counterproductive. The key to happiness, he argued, was accepting our mortality while focusing on the pleasures and relationships available to us now. Some critics argue that Epicurus misses the point. They say we don't fear death because we think it will be unpleasant. We fear it because it deprives us of future experiences. But Epicurus would respond that you can't be deprived of something you can't experience. A person who doesn't exist can't miss out on anything. Think about it like a movie. Are you sad about missing the end of a movie you never started watching? Of course not. Similarly, once you're dead, you won't be sad about missing future experiences because there won't be a you to miss anything. This might sound cold or depressing, but Epicurus meant it to be liberating. Once we accept that death cannot harm us, we're free to focus on living well. Instead of wasting energy on an irrational fear, we can concentrate on making the most of our time here. Epicurus's view challenges our entire culture's approach to death. We spend billions on life extension, build elaborate monuments to the dead, and create complex mythologies about afterlives, all because we can't accept the simple truth that death is nothing to us. But perhaps the most radical aspect of Epicurus's argument is how it changes our view of life. If death isn't bad, then life doesn't need to be infinite to be good. A finite life can be complete and satisfying, just as a great meal doesn't need to last forever to be enjoyable. This perspective might be especially relevant today, when social media constantly reminds us of all we might be missing out on. Epicurus would say, you can't miss out on anything once you're dead, so stop worrying and start living. Of course, knowing something intellectually doesn't always change how we feel emotionally. You might understand Epicurus's argument perfectly and still fear death. But perhaps his insights can help reduce that fear, even a little. Perhaps they can help us stop wasting our precious time worrying about something that can never harm us. After all, as Epicurus would say, you're alive right now. And that's the only time that matters. Thanks for watching.